Order of business is public comment.
Hi, Greg Bittner, 129 Pleasant Street. I'm here today to voice my concerns
Sit down.
over my children being involved in a national protest in regards to the walkout on March 14th. It was a school-sponsored event, and I think aligning my children with something like that is inappropriate for the school to have involvement with.
Okay, and your students go to Turkey Hill,
Turkey
correct?
Hill, yeah.
And so they didn't actually have an event at Turkey Hill?
Right, I understand
Okay.
that, but that's somewhat arguing
Correct.
semantics because of the snow day.
Right, correct.
It was scheduled to happen. Originally, it was sold as a unity event or
Yep. I saw.
something along those, but I can quote
No,
the
I have
email
the emails.
that's-
Yep, I've seen them. I saw the one protest.
Yeah, so for it to be scheduled at that exact time, I think aligns it with that movement, so.
Correct. That's, okay. So what kind of recourse are you seeking
I'd
from
probably
the
like
school?
to see
Just
some-
to make a comment, or?
Well,
We're
no, I'd
gonna-
like to see policy.
Correct, yes.
taken
And so,
out,
and we are going to work on policy.
Okay, is there a special subgroup? or-
Yes, there is. So we'll schedule a meeting. That's
Okay.
myself and Ms. Bertrand and the superintendent. And we are going to schedule another one because our last one was postponed because of snow and everything was rescheduled. So we will put that on the next agenda.
Okay,
And we will invite you to come and participate in drafting the policy around that.
okay, thank you very much.
Okay?
Dave Crockett, 733 West Street. If I could just add to that. For me, I think my children were not affected because as soon as I found out last minute that this was associated with the national movement. And so I held my child back from school that morning so
okay.
that she wasn't involved.
Okay.
My other child was not involved. We had a chance to talk to them, but it was a far different conversation from the one that I had originally, where I thought that, I took the emails at face value that they were not associated with anything else, the original emails that went out. And so I sat down with my children, as I would with anything that comes from the school, and we sat down and we talked about it. I said, do you want to participate in this? And they said, I think it's a great idea, and had it out, and they said, yes, I want to be a part of it. But then it was the snow day morning, when we got the email that had the,
From Turkey Hill again?
Yes.
Okay.
That rattled me immediately. And I sent out my emails, which were very emotional. I understand that, but, I
Passionate.
yes, I got very irritated. The real problem for me is this. National walkout head count.
Yep. I saw that.
Yeah.
I
So
researched.
to set a square, okay, and this is just a suggestion because, again, my children were not directly affected. But I think some families probably were. And I was thinking about it, and what I'd love to see, I don't know if you're going to be amenable to this, but I'd like to see a note sent saying, to this group, saying, if you're planning on counting our heads, don't, because they were ill-gotten gains.
I didn't see any. I went on the website today and I reviewed to make sure that Lunenburg was not signed up as one of their schools. And in our area we have Oakmont, Air Shirley, Bromfield, Littleton, Neshoba, Acton, Boxborough, and Wachusett. They all registered. But however, Lunenburg is not registered on there, so I do not believe they are counting Lunenburg as a walkout route.
Okay,
Okay.
that's my concern.
Yes.
All right, good. As long as
Now, if they do, I'll keep monitoring it to
Okay.
make sure that it does not come up, since it says 13, anybody 13 years old or
Can
register.
submit it,
Now,
right.
if that does happen, I will, yes, we can figure
Okay.
something out going forward.
Good, because, again, it said this was a non-political event.
Correct.
If it becomes a part of this, it becomes a political event.
Correct.
So I have a problem with that. But I look forward to any other suggestions you guys might have and moving forward with the policy changes. I hope
Okay.
I can help you.
Yep, and we'll send you an email when we have our date. Okay?
Terrific.
Okay.
Thanks, I appreciate
All
it.
right.
We have to go.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Do we have any more public comments? Okay, so, do you have any public comment, Jim?
Yes, I do,
I'm sorry,
actually.
I'm sorry, it's for the committee too. I can't.
Yeah, well, first of all, I wanted to just extend my appreciation to Mr. Londa and the team that helped last week to get the snow cleared out so that we could actually have school on Wednesday after that snowstorm, as well as the DPW who worked so hard to get our streets cleaned
Yeah.
out for us to be able to have school and get us the kids to school on safely. And I appreciate the speakers earlier providing their input, and I certainly hope that we'll be looking into that in terms of developing policy and taking that into consideration.
Yep. Okay, any more? No, we're good?
And I hope that our policy, from a thoughtful
There's more.
perspective, there is more, will help give our administrators guidelines. Because when this was looked at initially, being that there was no current policy, there was not anything to come.
No guidelines.
No,
Yeah.
nothing to say, school committee, vote on this or anything like that. So administrators were left to work on their own, which, with their thoughts and ideas. And if there is policy, then that helps them be able to work together and work with synergy going forward. If there are different, events or ideas that, that they want to have collaborative things go on at the school for, then there's something for them to work within.
Agreed.
I just wanted to add that there was information that came out from the DESE making recommendations or suggestions about teachable moments and how to make sure that anything that happened was safe and communication with parents. And certainly the administration did look at all of those, review them thoroughly. They did not have a local policy, and I think we're all in agreement that indeed local policy will be more than helpful, because I think it was in the 60s when this particular topic of walkouts or protests was going on the most. At least the information we were receiving was referencing back to some information at that point in time. So we did certainly reach out to our associations, or they reached out to us, as well as the DESE. So put a lot of time and thinking and deliberation into making sure that what was going to happen was what happened, and also that everyone was safe and everybody's opinions were respected. Okay?
Yep. Okay, and the chair's report, I'm just going to, I just want to say thanks to our member who is no longer with us, Dawn Marie Ailes. She resigned, and we have an open position for 1 year. We are going to be appointing someone and taking applications until next Wednesday, the 28th. And then we hope to appoint someone by the next meeting. But she was very passionate, and she brought a lot of life to our committee, and we will miss her. She did great work, and we will really miss her. We wish her good luck.
Just like to ask one quick question. Dave Passios, 56 Whiting Street. What's your understanding of the procedure to fill that position? Just so I have it clear, and what I heard last night is the same as what you have for information.
A joint appointment with the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
So on the 28th, applications will all be due. They are, and directive was given, so there have been emails sent out notifying families. Ledger this week.
Yes, correct.
Ledger this week, as well as a posting within Town Hall, so it's publicly known,
Right.
that and the guidelines, submission of application, where and how to send it. Then after the 28th, everything, we will have that to review. We will be at the Board of Selectmen meeting on April 3rd to interview candidates.
Okay, great.
Is that the same that you heard?
Is that, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I just wanted to make sure that, both
Tuesday.
boards
Yeah, we
or
actually
committees
had a
are on the
meeting
same
And
track.
just to clarify, the application is a letter of
Of
interest.
interest. It's
and
not
a
really an
resume.
application.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just,
Like a town
there's no
form of
application
town.
allowed.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we actually spoke with Jamie yesterday, Mr. Toll, about the process and what we were looking at.
Making
Thank
sure
you.
we
Yeah,
were
on the
working
same page,
together.
yeah. Okay, so we have warrants, right, to approve line item transfers? Warrants are on the table, you were signing them.
And
We-
it's a
we
liquid
have
at the
line
moment.
items? We have no line items, okay. We have minutes from the 14th and the 28th to review. Did you review? Did anybody see changes? Can we
No.
approve
No
them?
changes.
I'll take a motion to approve. Do you guys,
I
do you have
move to
anything?
approve
Okay.
the meeting minutes from February 14th, 2018, as well as the meeting minutes from February 28th, 2018.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you. Let's see, spring is on the way. Tryouts are going on, that's right, right now. And we have had a good response to that already. I know we're talking about ways to get our fields cleared off with all this snow. It doesn't help that more snow is coming, but not as much as some areas will have tonight. Also wanted to do a congratulations to all the winter sports teams. The basketball teams just had a fabulous season, and it was so exciting. And our hockey team, winning that state championship, and they make us so proud. And oh my gosh, at all of these games, our dungeon, the fan section, our students, 3 buses that headed out to Springfield for that state championship. And they were so respectful and so sportsmanlike, and I just feel so fortunate to be able to once again sing the praises of our students and their athletes, and thank all the booster clubs for all that they do to support, and the coaches for the hours that they go through. So we're looking forward tomorrow to present a budget. You're going to give me guidance today on which budget I'm going to present to the FinCom. And then on April 4th, just want to remind everybody that the school budget hearing will be April 4th at Town Hall at 7 o'clock p.m. We start out with the budget hearing. That's the budget hearing for the school, and at that point in time, the school committee will take a final vote in terms of what budget's moving forward to town meeting, as part of the town meeting process. Okay?
And Eliza's not here, so we don't have a student rep. The athletic advisory is here for new business. Are you guys ready to present? Is someone else, is Mr. McCall coming, or is it Lynn?
No.
Oh, it's Jim. Jim.
Well, I guess-
Wait, are you sure you don't want
I did
Alex
expect
is
either Mr. McAuliffe or Mr. Powell to help. Mr.
you
Powell
ask them?
did head up the subcommittee on fundraising activities.
Hey, can you come over here so I can see?
Yes, I can do that.
Please,
And
Mr.
there were
Lemaire.
copies,
Over there.
rather than have
Right.
Jim projected up, we figured 2 slides.
Yeah, this is good.
Well, they're recommendations. We didn't write policies,
Right, correct.
That's up to you guys.
That's up to us.
For us.
Yes.
You're over there now.
Yeah.
So you're you. So one of the things that the Athletic Advisory Commission Council was put together for was to put some structure around fundraising for the school activities, the school athletic activities, and to work on resolving any disparities that might exist. So one of the things that one of our priorities when we first started off several months ago was around fundraising and the transparency around that, and what can we do to make it more palatable to both the student athletes and the parents of those student athletes, as well as the community that gets hit up every couple months for cash. So we set up a subcommittee of folks that worked on various things and recommendations, and what we've come up with is that we think that we should use some kind of a fundraising request form. This way it gets all funneled through the Athletic Advisory Council. They know who's doing fundraising for what and for what purposes, so that there's no overlap in the fundraising, and that we are fundraising in the season in which we're allowed to fundraise. Right?
Yes.
Because there are some requirements around when you can actually do your fundraising for your specific sports. So what we also want to do is say that fundraising is recommended but not mandatory. We realize that there are some students that are incapable of participating in fundraising activities like going door to door. Sometimes doesn't work for some people. But we wanted to make it more palatable for everybody to be involved and not to feel pressured to have to provide something. So one of the things that we talked about was a family cap on fundraising. So we have a target goal
The first athlete raises 100%, second athlete 50%, something like that, where there's a cap on how much the family has to put out. For those who are unable to do the fundraising, for whatever reason, they thought having some kind of a buyout option, for lack of a better term, would work. So if you're expected to sell 50 candy bars and get $100, maybe there's an option for you to donate an X dollar amount. We don't know what that would be, and not have to sell 50 candy bars, for example. One of the things that we want to do, and I think we're getting ready to start doing, is posting all the fundraising activities and the details on the school website. So we understand that Mr. McCullough fields phone calls frequently from parents saying, what am I donating for this time? What's this for? What are we going to do? What are we going to get out of it?
Yeah, what are they raising money for?
What are we raising money for? So this will provide a one place for anybody to go and say, oh, well, yes, it is true that lacrosse is fundraising and that they're going to use that money to buy new sticks or whatever. I'm just throwing out as many athletic terms as I can.
You're doing good, Jim.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
They'll back me up. And they also wanted to put some kind of a limit on fundraising for the groups, for the student athletes, and limit that to 2 fundraisers, where they physically and actively have to do the fundraising. In the event of that the restaurant wants to say, send everybody to us, we're giving 10% of our receipts, that's not an active fundraiser, that wouldn't be included. But any kind of thing where they have to actively go out and solicit funds from members of the community, they want to limit that to 2 per group per year.
Does that include like the cancer games?
No.
No, they do not
okay.
include that.
Okay, so that's totally a separate thing, right? That doesn't go to the booster anyway, that
Right.
goes to the family or, okay.
It's more like the door-to-door solicitation.
Yeah,
right?
it's where you would physically have to go out and
Or
solicit
call
funds
all your
for-
relatives to...
or the booster club to
Right, okay.
to fund the club or fund the
Sports,
sport.
athletics.
Yeah. So those are the recommendations that the
That's good.
team came up with to start with. We've got several other things on the agenda for future discussions, like opportunities for student involvement and earning some kind of community service.
Right, because they
that's
don't
part
have
of that.
time, the student athletes.
Right,
to
so
volunteer.
we had to focus on one thing, and we realized Rome wasn't built in a day, and we'll keep coming back to the topics and bring those up. So anything else that...
And where on the website are you going to have money?
Well, that's what the problem, I think, was before, that there was nowhere that people could find, like, who won and whatnot. So I think that was a discussion that, like, I know, like, some of the field hockey and lacrosse, we all have, like, a site, a Facebook site.
Right.
So we were posting where people would win.
Right.
So I think that we decided...
Oh, yeah, and that would be on that web, the fundraising website.
Right,
where
there'll
we-
be like athletics and then fundraising?
Right.
Is that where you're going to, like, something like that? And then people can click on
what it
that?
is, and then who
And
won.
per sport, maybe?
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
the advisory could give some recommendations
Like
about
how-
that, of how to make that the easiest for parents to actually
navigate.
have access.
Yeah, to
you know.
navigate.
Yeah, so when like the students get their package to go out and sell whatever they're
It
going
could
to
be
sell.
right on there.
It will be right on the sheet, and they could actually give it to the person too.
Okay,
Because
right.
that's a big thing, people never know where to find out who won.
No.
So, I know, right?
Yeah.
So,
But we would continue to, as we do now, we send out everything across email to all the parents that are
Right.
on their email addresses.
Right.
They send out registration, so we're trying to be as transparent now and just add more to it. Also keeping in mind that it's difficult when you're in between the season of the winter, because
Yeah.
you just come out in fall, you then have like 3 weeks to get a fundraiser together. So we
Yeah.
try to get it posted as quickly as possible, but it will be a tight turnaround time for in particular that season.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So, and that's where that fundraising request form comes into play. We talked about it needing to be approved by the council or commission council prior to fundraising activities starting.
Right.
And we are hoping to have a policy that doesn't require us to meet physically to approve that.
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
it goes to Pete,
Right.
he sends it out to the group
Yeah.
and says, this is what's coming up, if there are no objections within
Right.
3 days, 5 days, 7 days, whatever the policy decides, then we'll move forward with it.
And we would hope like the policy would be for a short turnaround time, as we were saying, that
Right,
going
especially
from one
crunch
sport,
time.
it's
Yeah.
hard, because
Yeah,
you've got to get
it's
everything
crunch
ready.
time, yeah. You're jumping from one booster to
Yeah,
another.
and we have different levels of advisories, and their interplay with open meeting law will probably drive what happens in terms of this ability
To
to
vote,
deliberate
yeah.
if you're not in that.
Right.
If you're functioning as a subcommittee under open meeting law.
Well, we have been treating the meetings as subject to open meeting law, but my understanding is that not all of the councils are. So
Advisories,
whether
that's true.
whether all the advisories are. So I don't know if this
So we just
advisory
need to sort through
actually
that.
should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that may be a question for council at some point.
Yeah, we might want to, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
About whether or not we do need to.
The wellness
disclose
advisory,
that.
for example,
Yeah.
is not an advisory that posts the meeting, because it advises the superintendent versus advising the school committee. So I think that's the nuance sometimes in terms of how these, but we should check with
Yeah,
town
let's
council
find out.
and see how.
Yes, Mrs. Lodge.
So my youngest graduated from high school in 2004, so this is a pretty different world. I don't understand what family cap means. I mean, I just don't understand what 100%.
So if you have, like it happens
Last year.
often, like there be
Siblings.
two siblings on the same team, like field hockey, I'll use,
Mhm.
twins. So where everybody else is just raising money, so the amount was to raise was $100. This other family would have to raise $200. So it was kind of unfair for that family, so we thought there should be a family cap. So the first sibling would do, 100%, and then it would tear down based on each remaining sibling.
All right, I guess that makes sense. So that, my understanding is, if you're on this team, you have to sell 50 candy bars.
You don't have to sell anything. That's the most important thing.
That's the
We have
recommended.
It's not
It's
mandatory.
not
Correct,
mandatory.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of children don't
Yeah.
sell the maximum, and in our... Most do it. And in basketball this year, what we did was we just had one rate, $100. If you had two players, it was $100. So it could potentially be less than this, but that's what we're recommending.
It's similar to the athletic beat. They
Right.
have a tier. like,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
first
that totally
student-
makes sense. I just
Yeah.
couldn't understand that.
Because we have
It was presenting
Right.
like you had to, sell 50
Right, no,
candy
no,
bars
no.
to be on the team.
No,
No.
there's no
No.
mandatory
Okay.
selling any at all.
That's a second bullet.
Sometimes they have incentives that kids want to get,
Mm-hmm.
so they want to sell this stuff because they want to get a T-shirt or they
Oh,
want, yeah,
Yeah, that's what we try to do.
you know.
little
So they
projects.
power sell because they want that.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so what was my other question? Oh, yeah, we limit 2 fundraisers per group per year involving student athletes. So how many fundraisers is that? I mean, how many groups are there?
All the sports boosters, so all athletics teams have a booster club.
So how many groups would that be?
I don't know.
So figure in the fall, where you have soccer, you would have
Field hockey.
field hockey,
Football.
you would have football, you would have
Cross-country.
cross-country.
That's
Am I
four.
missing anybody?
Soccer, we got
Cheering,
soccer.
cheering and football.
But does that fall, do they, oh yeah, that's.
And the band, isn't that music?
Well, yeah, band, Music Aiders is a.
But theirs don't always fall as
Do they come in this
cyclical.
too?
No.
Music-aiders?
No, they did not.
This was an athletic
Athletic.
advisory.
So there's more
As we
groups in this
develop
that are raising money.
policy,
Yeah.
it
Sounds like
could
an
include
awful
all
lot of
boosters.
people. No wonder
It could.
people are feeling
Yeah,
bombarded.
yeah, so that's why we were trying to get some clear guidelines so that parents didn't feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, because even 2 fundraisers seems like a lot of people.
Most
You've
of
got
it
all-
don't, most of it
One
Most
year.
yeah, most teams don't do
It's
two
unusual to
fundraisers.
have two, unless
Yeah.
they
Unless they're
need big
small.
equipment or something.
Right, or if they have a big purchase they're striving to do the next year or that year, then they might do another fundraiser because maybe they want to get equipment or
Hockey, for
uniform.
example.
Hockey,
Probably does at least 2 fundraisers because they're self-funding.
I don't think.
Right.
No, they have
They
a,
just
they
have
pay a
static
large
fee.
fee.
They just pay a bigger
They have to
fee.
pay for all their equipment, their ice time.
And the ice
Yeah,
time,
right,
so they
right,
pay a
right.
larger fee than.
Right.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, Phyllis, I think that's why some of this came about, because let's say you live in a neighborhood. Those are the first people you might go to for a fundraiser. If you've got 3 Boy Scouts in your neighborhood, and you've got 4 selling stuff in the fall, you've
Girl
got
Scouts.
sports, you've got Turkey Hill who might be selling candles, like, how many
Right.
times can you knock on your neighbor's door? So I think parents were just going, I'll just write it.
Write
And
a check.
especially if you have multiple kids, you're going, I paid $250.
So you want to put a white flag on your front?
Yeah. So listen.
It gets to the point where, how much does it cost?
Yeah, right, right,
To
right.
have a student in high school sports, so I think this is great that we're looking at how do we make this, work for families.
Yeah, right,
And this
right,
is a
right.
start.
Sounds like it's necessary.
I think
Okay,
that's why
thanks for the clarification.
the committee voted to institute this last year, right?
Yeah, that's why we wanted to work on this. We
No,
wanted this.
great idea.
Yeah, athletic advisory, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Great
Thank you
job.
for your support.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff, yeah. Thanks for your time.
Donations.
Donations. Where did it go? Donations. You have donations for us?
Yes, just wanted to recognize the receipt of a $225 donation. This was a matching donation from Thermo Fisher because the Carians made a donation to Turkey Hill Elementary School, and their company they worked with, it's a matching
Company
grant.
match.
So
Awesome.
we just wanted to acknowledge, I think when we acknowledged their donation, we had talked about it,
Yes,
and we just
yes.
wanted to acknowledge that the company has set that matching grant down.
That's excellent.
So recommend acceptance with
With
gratitude.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to be appointing a superintendent search consultant, Mr. Cassidy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try not to read this memorandum that I sent you, which basically summarizes the bid process and a recommendation for award. So when we met on February 28th on March, you approved the invitation for a quote. The following day, I sent it out to 6 vendors that provide consultant services. We received 4 bids. The lowest bidder was the Massachusetts Association for School Committees, where you are a member, so kind of aligned to that group. Reviewing their bid, they've done 160 searches over the last 2 decades, so they're extremely qualified. Searches include Hudson, Air Shirley, Webster, Uxbridge, Middleborough, so similar size school districts. So I think they have a feel for what we may be looking for. And some of these are recent, if they're not all recent. So they'll understand the candidate pool.
And can you tell us what the amount is for?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So their bid was $12,000.
12,000. And compared to the other ones, and just for the audience?
Just for a comparison,
Yeah.
the second lowest was $14,500, the next one was $17,460, and the final bid was $27,950. So the $27,950 was an out-of-state group that I personally didn't send them the invitation, but we did post it on our website, so for some reason they probably just got to our website and threw a bid in. Between the 12 and 17,000, those, in my opinion, those are pretty close bids as far as services go. One thing I want to bring to your attention about their quote and I think it's similar to the other quotes, is that special advertising is not included with that, so that a Boston Globe ad or an ad in Education Week was not included in that bid. So when you ultimately meet with the consultant, that's something that you really need to talk about. That is going to be an additional cost. It's something that the district can pay, and not put it to the consultant with any type of markup. But it's, we can pay that bill directly. We'll have to figure out the value of doing that.
Was that included in the other bids or not, in
No.
any of them?
No.
None of them?
So,
Okay.
no additional advertising
Okay.
costs. So, we're going to do a school spring
Right,
ad.
yeah.
They do their mailing. They've got, the job will be posted on their website.
Yep.
They'll do, did I already say, they'll do some personal recruiting from some of the other applicants that applied for other positions. So, but we'll get to that discussion
Okay.
to determine the
The
value of
consultant
that.
would be able to guide us in terms of how prevalent print ads still are.
Yeah. We can have that discussion. Education Week, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for someone outside the Massachusetts, that might be a good place to get a candidate. I still feel School Spring is the #1 recruiting mechanism in the nation, quite frankly. By recruiting people from out of state, one of the things that the consultant will talk about is certification. So, if we're recruiting people from Illinois, or someone comes in from Illinois, they're not going to have they may be a superintendent out there. Coming here, they're not going to have a Massachusetts certification. So that's a discussion. Do we give them 6 months, 1 year to kind of get that resolved? In addition, if we are recruiting people from Illinois or Wyoming or wherever, there are travel expenses that are included with that by bringing them here. I've seen superintendent searches done by out-of-state candidates through Skype, through the screening process,
Right.
but not with school committees. So that's a decision you don't have to make right now, but it certainly could be an additional cost. So in my recommendation, I stated that they're responsible and responsive bidder. I'm recommending
The MASC.
the MASC as the vendor.
Okay. So, do you guys have any questions in regards to that?
Additional
No.
questions?
No, nothing.
No, nothing comes out, no? Okay.
We are obligated to take the lowest bidder, yes?
Unless there was something that stood out, yes, we are
Okay.
going to take
I
forward.
I wanted
Yes.
to
Yes,
say
the
that out
lowest
loud,
bidder.
just...
Yes, Mr. Patrick.
After listening to the presentation, I understand why. Now, quick question before I start this. Could you repeat the lowest bid number, dollar amount?
$12,000.
Okay, I wrote it down wrong. That's where the problem is.
What did you think it was?
I do not have a question. I don't have a question.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I wrote down a much smaller number.
2,000?
I just had concern if it was that small a number, why?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted, to his point, the three close bidders are all good quality applicants. It's a bidding process, so due to the timeline, it was a quote. There was no RFP process. I would imagine these three people would have been interviewed at some point, and they'd still be coming in with the low bid with MASC.
Okay. So So I need a motion to appoint the search consultant as the MASC. I'll take a motion.
I'll move.
We're still Marie.
I'll move to accept MASC's bid for $12,000 for the recruiting and search consultant services.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we have to appropriate the funds for the superintendent search consultant, right? We're going to appropriate $12,000 from, do we have, from school choice to pay for our search consultant. We have to take a motion for that. I'm going to take a motion to appropriate those funds.
I'll make the motion to appropriate $12,000 from school choice account to fund the recruiting and search consultant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, and now we're on to the approval, you got more?
Can we have,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but the next steps.
Oh, the next steps, yes, tell us what you think the next
Okay,
steps
so,
are.
I did call the consultant just to let them know that the administration was moving their name forward, or their group forward, as the consultant for this position. During that conversation, I said, you know we're under a tight timeline, and I was trying to get a meeting with them next week.
Okay.
So let me just explain what that meeting will be like, and then I'll give you the 2 dates that they provided. I'm not trying to hold back the information, but under the initial consultation, they want to discuss with you establishing a guideline for the search, planning a timetable, defining the scope of the search, working on the job description, which I emphasized that we were trying to get for the next school committee meeting. There'll be a discussion on community and staff involvement, and an initial discussion on the screening process. So some of these will be more in depth than others. So there'll be some initial conversations.
Okay.
So the 2 dates that the consultant offered were Monday night and Wednesday night.
And that would be the 26th or 28th?
Excuse me?
That's the 26th or the 28th?
26 or 28, yeah.
I think so.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
What do you got?
Okay.
I can do either.
I can do either.
Okay. Whatever works for them. We can all do either one.
Okay.
At this
Well,
time.
wait.
Is there a preference?
Should we just do Wednesday then? Or do you
I
want-
can do either, but
Does it look like it's going to snow next Wednesday?
Check the forecast.
Wednesday
It looked like it was
Always
clear,
number
but
5, right?
Things change.
Let's do Monday, and then if
if it does, maybe.
Something
No,
happens-
well, then we can always look at a Wednesday if we had a weather issue for
Yeah.
Monday.
Okay.
We also, the
I'll plan
Yeah,
on
we
the
gotta
Monday.
get
longer we have, with things, 2 extra days could
Could make a
more
difference,
something.
yeah.
March 26th, right? And did we have a time, or?
On Wednesday, the consultant can only be here at 7.
Okay.
They might be able to be here a little bit earlier on
On
Monday.
Monday.
Is there a good earlier time for this group?
6:30.
6:30?
Yeah.
6:30.
Okay.
And this has to be posted?
Of course.
Yep.
We can do that
We have
tomorrow.
time.
You can do that tomorrow, okay.
And we'll get a location.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
And you'll send out the confirmation?
Time.
On
You'll
time
send us,
date.
once you speak with them again about the time, you'll tell us. the
Yes,
committee.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I will
Thank
put
you,
it
Mr.
on.
Cassidy.
Thank you.
Okay, this is now the approval of the central office personnel contracts. There are 4 of them.
There are 4 of them. 2 of them are, 3 of them are continuing employees with the district, and 1 is new, Ms. Heidi Spindley, who we've appointed to replace Carrie Cooper as our data manager, and she started a couple of weeks ago and is going full bore already. It's been great to have her in the office. I do apologize, this stuff just lingers. It's been going on for 3 weeks now. But Mr. Londa and Mr. Maladrinos have had in these kinds of contracts in the past. But Mr. Cassidy suggested it, as he was reviewing our process and procedures, that we include the central office, executive secretary, and data manager in terms of that format for contracts as well. I don't know, Mike, you want to talk about that?
When I joined the district, I was surprised that specifically Liz wasn't part of the executive, no names, just title. The executive secretary for the superintendent didn't have a contract. It was under a specific contract. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of align some of our central office staff with similar contracts, similar benefits, make it crystal clear what they're entitled to. So I think the agreements that we have really define that for those individuals.
Thank you. I also wanted to point out that I did consult with the town manager around Mr. Maladrinos' contract, just simply because he's split between the town and the schools. So for FY19, for Mr. Londa and Mr. Maladrinos, the salary slated for both of them is $87,805. For the executive secretary, Ms. Peterson, $52,860, and then for Ms. Finley, $48,925. And then for the second and third year, it's 2.5% on each increase. Yeah, 2.5 increase. So there are 3-year contracts for all 4 of them. That's what they are. Now I recommend approval of those.
So I need a motion to approve the central office personnel contracts for fiscal years 19 through 21. Do we need to include the specific numbers in that, or just the specific?
As presented.
As presented. I'll make a motion to approve the central office contracts as presented. For fiscal years 19. Oh, for fiscal years 19, 20, 21.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I'm sure the numbers will be reflected in the minutes, but we'll double check those, just make sure those numbers are accurate. Thank you.
Old business, the 19 proposed budget.
The 19 proposed budget, so much has happened, and yet there are so many things yet to happen since the superintendent's recommended budget, which is due, and our budgetary process. I need to have that to you and the town manager in December, by the end of December. And we did that, as you know. There were several recommendations, all very well rationed, needed, good defense for those. And we're hoping that some of those could go forward. Of course, the increase was a 5.5 increase. And it's clear that there's just not that. Our Chapter 70 funding this year for the governor's budget came in right about 3%. The town manager's budget recommended a 3% for the schools. And if there's going to be any additional money, we're not hearing about it.
No.
Maybe some circuit breaker money, which is a good thing, because as we drop down from a 5.5% increase to a 3% increase. We also increased in the number of students from the time we started our budget that are placed out of district to now. We were at 12, we're now at 14. We have 14 in the budget.
Okay.
So there was an additional student allocation in that budget, but that's already been utilized at this point in time. So the bottom line number right now is $20,190,110.
Okay. And that's 3%.
That's 3%. The salary increases ended up being 3.3%, and the expense portion came out at 2.91% if you just look at those particular lines, but overall it was a 3%. And you know, we still don't know about the state budget or federal grants. We do have some indications with the Title I grant, which is a $295,000 grant. As we received our numbers in terms of poverty rates, just as 4 years ago, we saw them pop up. The good news is the numbers are going down. They were cut in half. It was more than cut in half. The bad news is that will translate to fewer dollars.
Yes.
So we are at this point in time, the level service in terms of the personnel side of the budget, what we have this year, we have in the budget for next year. However, while we've done that, we are also recommending hiring freeze at this point in time, a posting and hiring freeze, with the exception of the principal at the high school, or at the primary school. Sorry, I know which principals we're leaving, I really do.
Just
But-
the superintendent.
And the superintendent. Oh, yeah, you're
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
that.
continue with that. But we are at the point where if personnel, if our federal funds decrease, and that Title I looks like it will decrease, if we don't want to have to be laying off staff that maybe we just hired in order to do that, we'll have to, you know, the district as a whole will have to look at all the positions and decide where the greatest needs are for the students and where to reallocate the resources, providing that flexibility because we have teachers who have multiple kinds of credentialing, and making sure that if we have a need in one area, that we have an appropriately licensed teacher to put in that area. So since it's level service, we don't see adding numbers into that at this point in time to give the flexibility for absorbing those additional costs.
Okay.
So, for example, if there's a special education teacher position that comes open, we would not go to fill that at this point in time until we had additional information about what the federal funding is going to look at.
Okay.
So that's our recommendation in terms of a pathway forward to keep from creating a budget crisis that later on that might appear. I think it's a conservative, I think it's a fiscally responsible route to take. I can tell you that we also, in terms of this particular budget, the 40S funds aren't considered in any of these. We have the cherry sheet is showing that instead of the 119,000 that we have gotten in past years, it's going to be 17,000. So a really significant decrease in those 40S funds is what the financial director, Ms. Brochu, is reporting to us. So our proposal in terms of that, we do have 40K. We level funded curriculum adoption in the budget at 40K as it was last year, or this current year. So our proposal is to take that 17K plus a little bit that's in Mr. Maladrino's. He asked for 71. We bumped it up to 78 in his technology line. And purchase the laptops so the 9th grade can move to a one-on-one.
Okay.
So that was our strategy with Chromebooks. that was our strategy in terms of then having the high school be able to all have their Chromebooks. And it's sustainable as you look across time. We had Mr. Spadafino, Maladrino run the numbers. So for FY19, it's at 78,000. In FY20, he projects that will be 72,000. The next year it goes to 75, then 88. I'm sorry, not 75, 85, then 88. And then it levels off again at about 86. So it becomes a constant. It really levels out. If we hadn't done that, the request to do the one-on-one was 95,932. Okay. Did that make sense how I presented it?
Yeah.
So we're taking the funding for this year and doing it with those one-time funds for the most part. But for next year, though, actually, all things remaining constant, there could be a decrease in terms of the request because he shows that as being right at 72,000 next year. Okay. That was one of the priorities that we felt we really needed to work hard. The principals are going to have to work with their faculties now to really prioritize all the requests. You know, some of the schools have requested an additional 20,000 in expense on the expense side for various materials and everything. So we are working to make sure that we maximize and get the resources our teachers need, prioritizing and making sure that that's distributed around the various department or grade levels when you look at the elementary and primary school. So that's the high-level overview of the budget. Mr. Cassidy and I, as I said, will be presenting to the Finance Committee tomorrow. Usually the lines, we start to get clearer and clearer. Right now the expense lines aren't necessarily what they may look like a little later, just simply because the principals are already doing that work. They know what their total allocation is for the building, and they need to meet that bottom line and not exceed it. But they have the discretion to decide where to put it in terms of math notebooks, library expenses, etc., etc. Okay? So my recommendation, I would like to be able to go into this meeting tomorrow saying this is the budget that the school committee has asked me to move forward with.
So we need to make a motion that this is the bottom line that we're asking you
That
to
would do it.
Okay. So I need a motion that says this 20,190, 110, 3% increase is our bottom line budget. That she is going to do you?
I don't know. I just
Do you have
know if
any
we had
comments on the
Yeah.
shape of the budget?
Dad, we have to...
No.
Yeah.
But
I guess my own question is, do we have any insight on what the income side of this budget is relative to what this school itself brings in terms of renting out field space, renting out the gym, or whatever else, whatever other income sources the school is generating? Do we have any insight on those numbers?
In terms of the school generating resources, those just get put back into the schools, and there's not a lot of those in terms of renting out there. For example, we don't generate money when we pay the custodians with the money that comes in when the fields, the facilities.
Well,
the fields themselves are paying
For the turf, so it's not really like profit.
But, right, no, I'm not suggesting that it's profit, but is that, so if we have in the budget an expense for janitorial expenses,
Right.
is that irrespective of any events where we need janitorial expenses that are paid for out by...
That's correct.
Yeah, that's totally
All of those things go through revolving funds. So money is, any time the money is collected, like activity fees,
Right.
those go into special accounts. and then purchases are made out of those to support. The athletic revolving fund is another good example where fees are collected, and all those fees that are collected from either the athletes for user fees or at gate fees are then repurposed back into offset the program itself. Okay, so for facilities, the money comes in, but then it goes out to pay for the custodians who did the work
On a weekend.
on the weekend or
And
outside.
is that outflow reflected in this budget, or is that
No, all those
outside
are,
of, so that's...
That's outside the scope of the budget.
yeah,
And that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
confirm.
those are
Yeah.
all outside.
Okay.
The main revenue source, in addition to the town, is, of course, the Chapter 70 funding from the state. And that's what increased 3% this year. Okay.
Thank you.
Did that answer?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to make sure that that was...
Yeah. And the grants, unfortunately, we don't hear about the federal grants until hopefully by July. So that's why we felt it prudent to plan for the worst case
Just in case,
scenario, especially given the early signs around the decrease in the poverty rate and therefore the decrease in funding for Title I.
Thank you. So given that, I'll make a motion to allow the superintendent to present a budget of $20,190,110 to the finance, or actually it's finance committee tomorrow, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
So as our school committee budget for fiscal year 19.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got all the points in that one.
Okay, the final approval of the Nashville music trip.
Mrs. Wardwell actually sent this, you see they're going out in April, and she did submit this primarily to present 2 months ago, but with all the different meetings and the sequencing, we didn't get it to you until this point in time. So I wanted to let you know that there are 21 students that are planning to attend, 3 chaperones, Mrs. Wardwell, Mrs. McGuire, and Ms. Merchant, who helped organize this and will serve as a tour guide as well. The trip's going out on Saturday, April 14th. They'll head out of here very bright and early in the morning at 3 a.m. And the flight from Boston to Nashville, I'm sure that's a very inexpensive flight going, given what time it's leaving on Saturday, hopefully. So they're arriving in Nashville at 8:25 that Saturday. And then they return on Tuesday, April 17th.
During spring break. The break.
Yeah.
Do they take a bus to the airport and then a bus picks them up?
You know, they do, usually rent from the D-Bus.
Okay.
Take them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I need a motion to approve the final approval of
Correct.
the Nashville music trip.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to do the final approval for the National Music Trip, April 14th through 17th.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
The second reading of the policy. Second reading of our policy 1203, naming of facilities, and 1203.01, spaces and memorials on school property. We usually read our policies 3 times before we approve them. Have we had any feedback on this policy?
We have not. We'll continue to put, I've been putting that out in superintendent's updates, but we have not received any feedback on the policy at this point in time.
Okay, so we can waive the actual reading of it.
Yes, you can.
And we're going to speak about it again on our April 4th meeting. And do we approve it then?
You are able to move it into
We're going to move it
action
into
at
action,
that
okay.
time. Yep.
So if anybody has any comments on our policy, community relations section, send them to Superintendent Connors or myself, so that we can look at the policy again before we approve it at our next meeting. Oh, the entryway banners, final approval of the entryway banners for the class of 2017.
Yes.
I'll be
there-
back for a second.
That size becomes important because I believe they said this will be approximately the size of the banners as they're hanging up there. But they have identified the final design and the
Can
cost.
you see it from there?
The costs associated with that. People can come back and look at this later. They're still
Okay.
working on a little bit more of how the Blue Knights, I know Mrs. Giuliani felt that a little more white accent
On the top of the
would be
circle,
good
yeah.
around that.
And she would know.
Then you see down here, it says gift. This might get enlarged a little bit
But
so
you can't
people
really
can
see
read
it,
it.
especially when you're driving by.
Gift of the class of 2017.
Okay, and this is the material that it was made of?
This is the material.
We are not sure if we have to put out to bid, or? do we
Yeah,
have to?
yes,
Okay.
we'll have to go through this, the kind of hardware that will work
Okay.
to make sure, and just vigilance around making sure that these all get to stay nice looking, so, and then
Right,
get
not weathered,
replaced.
if they're
Right.
weathered, that we have
Right.
the ability to replace it.
And just as a quick review, the class of 2017, when classes leave, they generally leave a gift. And they wanted to do banners that, like Fitchburg High School, other high
You know how
schools
they have
have the
them down the
banners
road?
outside
Yeah.
down the road. So they
They
had
came to us
several
with like
designs.
Lunenburg Blue Knights, and they want to put them right outside in the front of the school out here.
On school property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would look like, see the top, this tiny, would be in the whole.
And in
Yeah.
working with future
Yeah.
classes to have classes help maintain them.
And replace or add to them as you come up to the school.
So this would become the standard, and each time they were to be added to, it would be necessary under our policy for that class to come and say, we want to put up 4 of these, or 2 of these, or whatever the number is. As they begin to weather, I think it's important for us to encourage the students to develop a policy around this, to bring it to you for your suggestion and adoption, about if the 2017, donated by the class of 2017 banner, becomes frayed or torn or needs to be replaced. If the class of 2025 is replacing that banner on that pole, do both classes have their names up there, or do you just rotate it through?
That's good for
You know, we had talked at a previous time in terms of how long would the class of 2017
Their
have
names on
their names up there. And I think that would be a good project for the student council to work through,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
you know, a representative group from the schools, or, you know, from the classes. A student council would have all the classes represented, so
Yeah.
it would be good. But I think that would be a good thing for them to come back to the school committee with. I think it's the kind of cost per poll that makes it reasonable for the class. It's a nice, but you know, cost. They're going with 4. They're asking for permission to do 4 of these. Usually those class funds, what I've observed is, you know, if they do 1 or 2 of these, they also have an opportunity to maybe do some other kind of smaller donation as well. Those class gifts range in the neighborhood of $1,000 usually, but, you know. So I think it's responsive to the things that Mr. Londa felt they needed to be responsive to. We have talked about that the maintenance personnel would be able to put them up. They'd need some lead time and those kinds of things. And we just want to make sure that they keep looking nice. But because of the kinds of holders they're going to have, the hardware on the poles themselves, they do feel that there'll be several years of durability in these, that you will get, you know, some time out of them, some life out of them. So
I think as they get replaced, it would be really nice to have the 2017 get to stay.
A little bit longer.
Even if it started going 2017, 2025, 2030,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
building
full
on,
time,
because
yeah.
each class is supporting their
Right,
predecessors
right,
in that project, but it all started with 2017.
And I know we've talked about the number of polls out here, so depending on the classes, there was some discussion about how broadly you'd open this up. I think, that's another thing people can talk about. Bottom line is, they need to come to you for final approval before anything goes up there.
Yeah.
And they need to have some consistency in terms of the design.
Oh, yeah.
So my recommendation is that we approve the acceptance of the gift of the banners from the class of 2015 as specified with the durable hardware as well as the fabric. And we'll write out, we'll get those specifications and put it out there as a request for quotes.
Okay, so I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve, to accept. Are we approving or accepting?
We're accepting. Final approval.
Final approval on the entryway banners from the class of 2017. Right?
I'll second.
Seconded? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, do we have any school council reports? I don't.
Snowed out.
So there's mine. Actually, mine is next Wednesday.
Snowed out.
The Turkey Hill is next Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Well, next week.
Next week. And then they had their, I have a task I'm still working to get, my task from the town manager and the town clerk. Mine is the demographics of the town to help them with the school accreditation process at the high school, which is what they're working on in the but that was their whole professional development day, correct?
They did.
On Friday, they were working on the accreditation for the high school. It's a huge process. They all have big pieces to do, questions to answer. It was big.
It's a very
Big
large,
deal.
the self-study, this
Yeah.
part is extremely time-consuming.
Yeah.
They've been using most of their faculty meeting time and
On Tuesdays, yeah.
several groups meeting, all doing different tasks. I see on our Google Drive that there's a lot of work going done and lots of surveys have been turned in and, they're making good progress.
They are. They're all on
So.
task. They are. It's impressive. So, I thought they had another presentation coming up, though. Are they bringing that to us at all? No.
I'm not sure. I can check and
Okay.
get back to everybody
All right.
about that. Mr. Spadafino hasn't
Yeah.
mentioned
No, I don't think so.
something
Okay.
recently to me.
All right. Meredith, do you have a PTO?
I do. I managed to slide over there to the PTO event after the caucus, so that was great. $400 was raised at the last movie event with the Wrinkle in Time, so that was a pretty nice turnout, considering that the first movie event that they had that was more older audience, I guess, as far as wasn't a animated feature.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit different. But of course, the big news is the P&O Parents Night Out, the adult event with the trivia. It's held at the Leominster Elks on April 7th, 6:30. They're going to have appetizer foods from Slattery. So we were talking about all of those different options. We got some good things planned with that. And you can form your team or come on your own and make a team when you get there. Look at lunenburgpto.org to purchase your tickets. And those tickets are on sale right now. And they're collecting items for the grade level baskets. I know that was included in the superintendent's email as well. So there were links on there to see what was still needed as far as those baskets are. Also want to keep reminding the seniors that the scholarship applications for the PTO award are due by April 12th. The next meeting for PTO will be April 9th, and they'll be talking about health, wellness, and safety. So if you're interested in those topics, that would be a great meeting to attend.
And the budget, too.
And the budget as well.
Yeah. Superintendent was going to be there.
Yeah.
And the Parent Night Out tickets in advance are $20, right? And at that night, you can buy at the door for $25.
Yeah.
LunenburgPTO.org.
Yes, lunenburgpto.org.
It's very fun.
It is super fun.
It was so fun last year. I highly recommend the Parent Night Out Trivia Night. It was a lot of fun.
And the more eclectic your group or team is, you
You might get further. Ours, we didn't get very far.
But we had a lot of fun.
Ditch everybody.
She ditched, but we did not go very far. So, but yeah, that's coming up really fast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, April 7th.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to open it up to public comment again. You have any public comment? No? Ms. Law.
Phyllis Watt, 50 Sunset Lane. I just had a question. I see that you have an executive session to discuss strategy and preparation for negotiations with the LEA. I was thinking that contract was just signed.
Yes, it was. Something has come up.
Oh, okay, so it's an issue relative to that contract?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you're not starting on the next contract or
No,
anything?
absolutely,
It's relative
no.
to the
Yes.
current contract?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thanks for the
Okay.
clarification.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay, I just was confusing.
Yeah.
I went, geez, I thought we just...
No,
No,
we did last
the
year.
contract isn't on the website. The last contract is, but not the new one.
On our website?
Okay, so we need to upload that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you for pointing that out. So we have topics for future discussion. We
I
have
actually did have
Oh,
one
wait,
more
you do?
public
I'm
comment.
sorry.
Sorry.
I can barely see down there.
I know, I'm way back. At least I won't be the last
I
one
thought heads
anymore.
there.
And on that topic, I just wanted to give a personal thank you to Dawn Marie Ailes for her service and for her help in getting me acclimated to my role here on the school committee. So I didn't want to say anything earlier because I waited for you to make your announcement, but I did want to at least acknowledge her service to the community.
Yeah, she
So,
was really great.
Thank you, Dawn Marie.
Thank you, Marie. Does that mean you're taking over as secretary?
I'm really good at nominating for those things.
You're really good at volunteering.
It's not on here.
It's not on.
We have to put it on for the next time.
Had it for you.
Okay, and actually, hopefully by that time, we have another person appointed. So don't forget to send in your letters if you want to sit on the committee with us. Your letter of intent. So our topics for future discussion, we're going to have the skate park presentation. That's not at the next meeting, though?
No,
That'll
it's
be
the
at the
second meeting in April, which is the fourth week in April. It's off cycle because
Oh,
of
the
the break.
Okay.
It's like the 20...
It is 1825th.
25th, okay.
25th.
And blizzard bags.
Mhm.
Yeah, hot topic.
We
with all
just
the
haven't,
snow.
we had reached out to
the-
school councils, the LEA,
Yeah.
to, think about that, have some conversation about that,
Yeah.
and come back and say, what do you think? Where
Fact-finding,
should this go?
informational.
Right.
Yep. Does anybody have anything else that they want to put on the
I
table?
did.
Do you have something?
Well, I was just going to let you know that I received a communication from Mrs. York, who is interested in planning another trip to Italy, to Europe. But I suggested to her April 4th would hopefully be the
Okay.
date we could do that.
That would be great, yeah.
So that's coming up.
And that would
And
be-
then also, I talked to Mrs. Foyle about her community service learning students
Her
in
seniors.
her class,
Yes.
yes, in that class, and offered up superintendent's report time for them to come and talk a little bit about their projects.
And would that be at the fourth, too? Or the
That'd probably be a little bit later,
Okay.
and probably May for those.
And that reminds me of the group of students that went to the Cape for the student council.
Oh, yes.
Right, to
And
have
they
them
should
come back,
probably come
yeah.
and share what they discovered.
Yep, we had
with that.
4 students.
4 students that went out there.
You know one.
Yeah, I'm familiar with one of the
Okay.
students.
I'd reach out and see if they might be available on the 4th, if it's not
Yeah.
too jammed. I mean, we'll have the budget here.
We had
so-
one from every grade level, right? Is that true?
So,
Yeah.
Did we have one for
Yeah.
every grade level?
Yeah.
I thought we had a representative in the high school.
Yes.
The
yes,
4
yeah,
from every
yeah,
freshman through
high school.
senior. Okay, that would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are going to move to executive session according with MGL C 308, Section 21A, to discuss strategy and preparation for negotiation with the Lunenburg Education Association, not to return to public session.